Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Rain Phoenix and you've successfully found your way onto my channel and onto the first video on this channel. Today I want to showcase 9 tips and tricks for you guys, just for general Starcraft 2 with some extra special Protoss tips sprinkled in there. You might already know some of these tips. Some of them are relatively common knowledge among the Starcraft 2 community, but I do think that at least one of these tips is going to be unknown to you, and probably everyone can take a thing or two away from this video. So if you're interested in learning a few tips and tricks to spice up your game, do not go any further, and without waiting around any longer, let's jump straight in. Tip number 1, mineral walking. Now, have you ever had the problem of having a wall, for example against a Zerg player, to not let any Zerglings in, but on the other side there's you who wants to build an expansion outside of that ramp? Now, what you usually would have to do is move the Zealot out of the way so the probe can move down and place a Nexus. But there is a way more elegant and simple trick to this endeavor, which can be applied to even more situations. The trick is called mineral walking. What you have to do is, with your probe, instead of move commanding it somewhere on the other side of the ramp, click on a mineral patch on the other side of the ramp. Right click onto it, and workers, when they are in gather mode, that means walking towards the mineral patch or returning cargo to the Nexus, they lose all collision and can walk through units as they wish. As you can see, the Zealot is basically not even here, and the probe is just mineral walking through the Zealot. This trick can be employed to do way more things than just walking through a single Zealot. Probes are also going to pass through enemy units, so you can use it offensively if you do some type of worker rush. Of course, that's not common, but you know. And there are plenty other reasons to do so. Tip number 2. Was your mineral line ever attacked by, let's say, a Banshee, and then you had to retreat your workers, grab all of them, send them away, and once the Banshee is deflected, let's say by a group of Stalkers who are keeping it at bay or straight up killing it, you then want to return to work. So you send your workers to the mineral spot. As you can see, there's workers with gases in their hands, with workers who already have mineral patches in their hand. All of these are going to straight back to minerals, and if they have gas canisters in their hands, they are going to basically delete them and override them with a fresh mineral patch when mining. So in order to prevent this and become slightly more efficient, what you want to be doing is right-clicking onto the mineral patch and then using the return cargo function, basically hitting C on your keyboard. This is going to prompt all of your workers, so this is going to be this icon on the command card. It's going to prompt all of your workers, no matter what they have in their hands, be it a mineral node or a gas canister. It's going to prompt every single one of your workers to return the cargo to the Nexus and then continue on with the last action they were given. So in this case, let's say we right click onto the mineral patch and then we hit C. Everyone's going to go to the Nexus first, return their cargo, and then return to mining. Use this whenever you have to send your workers back to mining to get a little bit more efficiency out of your workers. Tip number 3. Now, tip number 3 has to do with the adept shades, especially important like in PvP, but also in other matchups. How do you prevent shades from getting into your base? Well, shades don't get blocked by regular units. So let's say we have a probe or a Zelda, whatever is in here. The adept shade can simply pass through that. It does not have any collision with normal units. However, what you can do to block these from getting in is you can build a pylon or any other building for that matter. Okay, even while this is still building, the pylon is going to block movement for these adepts. Now, of course, in this unit tester, everything builds instantly, but small tip right here. A pylon has a build time of 18 seconds. Which means it's done pretty quickly, so it can only actually block one transfer before you have to cancel it. However, a shield battery has a build time of 29 seconds. So if you place down a shield battery, of course now it's not going to build for that long, but it's going to be able to block 2 shade-ins before you have to cancel it. So in PvP especially, I recommend blocking with a shield battery. Do not let these pesky shades get into your base. And on to tip 4. Now this is very similar on to tip 3, it's just a little known fact. It's not quite as useful as the building block that you just saw. However, it's still a nice thing to know, and it might come in handy in certain situations. Well, buildings are not the only things that block shade movement. Other shades also block it. So if you see shades come toward your base, you can send out your own shades to block the existing ones from shading through. Of course, once the shades finish, the opponent is going to be able to walk through your shades. However, as you just saw, if once your shades finish up, it's bodies against bodies again, and the block can continue. Tip number 5. Now this one is probably also pretty well known, especially among the Protoss community in here, but there's a very cool interaction between Phoenixes and Disruptors, that being that Phoenix can actually cancel the Disruptor Purification Nova. So let us shoot out Disruptor Nova with this Disruptor, and before it explodes, we are going to lift the Disruptor, basically just making the Purification Nova vanish without doing any damage. You saw the Nova was right on top of the Stalkers, but however it did deal no damage since the Phoenix lifted the Disruptor before the Nova actually exploded. The same thing also works with Viper Yoings, so with the abductability of a Viper. If you displace the Disruptor while it is shooting, the Purification Nova will simply get cancelled. You can use Phoenix like this to counter Disruptor compositions. Tip number 6. Now this tip is a very, very niche tip. Of course, not all of these tips are intended to, get you from Gold to Masters League. It's just some little known facts or cool interactions. And for this tip, I want to show you guys the Dark Templar block. So there's a common problem that you encounter, especially against Zerg, who try to do stuff like roach run-bys. So let's say we have these roaches who want to get up to this unprotected base of the Protoss. They could simply walk up the ramp and sneak through, and Protoss sometimes reacts and warps in a quick Zealot. However, the roaches can just snipe that Zealot while it's warping in and fit through here to start wreaking havoc amongst these probes. Now, as a Protoss, what can you do? What other things could you do to stop these roaches from getting in? Well, one cool trick that can work only if the Zerg does not have an Overseer with his run-by, which is quite rare, if I might add. You can simply, instead of warping in a regular Zealot, you warp in a Dark Templar, because even while warping in, as you can see, the roaches cannot hit the Dark Templar. And when you just put the DT on hold position regularly, the roaches have no way of seeing the DT and fighting back. They would have to finish off a building before they could get in, which you could again block with another DT, for example. But this is going to delay the roach, well, counterattack a lot longer than a regular warp-in would have done. Tip number 6. Now this one actually has to do with Disruptors again, and a neat interaction between, well, Disruptors and Disruptors themselves. That being that Disruptors are actually immune to other Disruptors, like to your own Disruptors. So let's, can demonstrate this to you. Firing Purification Nova onto these 3 other Disruptors, no damage has been taken. So friendly Disruptors cannot kill themselves. Now, how is this actually useful? For example, let's say you're facing Zerglings and some Disruptors are getting caught off guard. These Zerglings are going to engage. You can use the Disruptor to Purification Nova on top of the other Disruptor without actually harming the Disruptors, but getting rid of the Zerglings, as you just saw here. Trick number 8. Now, for this trick, the scenario is going to be Zerglings attacking a Protoss wall. Especially this trick, I feel like this one is really, really spicy, and you're going to turn a lot of heads when you actually pull this off on the ladder, especially in below leagues like Diamond and below. You're going to make people... You're going to astonish people with your galaxy brain. So, what is this trick about? It's about defending Zerglings with a Protoss wall while you have an Adept inside, like as your walling off unit. That's an important detail. So, as soon as Protoss sees Zerglings approaching, so let's send these Zerglings to attack. As soon as Protoss sees these approaching, you're going to shade back and rebuild a building behind the Adept. What is this going to do? Well, the Adept is going to fight at the front, but is going to shade towards the back and be safe from Zerglings to attack further without ever having to open up the wall. You just saved your Adept, and the Zerglings are still walled out on the outside. Now you can use this time to warp in extra units on your side of the wall and just deflect the Zerglings regularly. Tip number 9. For the last tip on our list, I have a relatively easy one for you guys again. This one's probably also relatively well known among the Protoss players here from you guys, the viewers. what is it about? It's about defending usually Zerg attacks, but this can be used in any scenario. It's just a little known fact that shield batteries do not just heal unit shields, so let's attack the Stalker right here. As you can see, it's going to get immediately healed. However, shield batteries can also repair buildings. As you see, it's not going to automatically repair, but if you can click on it and press hotkey and click on building, it's going to start repairing the building. If that is still not enough, grab your Nexus, overcharge the battery, and heal that cyber core out. As you can see, it is simply not falling to all of these roaches attacking it at once, because the overcharged battery is healing it just that damn quickly, buying you an insane amount of time, especially against Zergs who want to go for Ling run buys or early Roach Zergling all-ins. You can of course use this to try to save a Nexus, for example. So let's say a Terran player has a double drop incoming and is trying to snipe your Nexus, overcharge that battery and R-click on your Nexus to repair it and buy time for your units to arrive and defend the drop. You have reached the end of the video. Thank you very much for sticking through for the time, watching all 9 of the tips and tricks I presented here today. Of course, I do know that not every single tip on this list, probably most of these tips, are already known to the general community, but if there was at least one thing in this video that you didn't know yet, or that you found interesting, or where I actually told you something that you thought worked in a different way, do consider liking and subscribing on this channel, as this is my first YouTube video here on the channel, and I would love to continue doing this, and I can only do that with sufficient support. So if you liked what you saw, do consider supporting me by subscribing and liking. Also, before I leave, I usually stream on Twitch 3 times a week, so if you're interested in that, do check out the link below in the description. Other than that, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.